A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to films I should have talked about years ago. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the famous 1990, somewhat critically acclaimed film by Disney, known as Dick Tracy. Yes, the famous yellow trench coat and hat wearing detective of the same name. He is in fact portrayed in this film with such incredibly accurate praise. And I'm more than willing to give this one such a high score because just getting out of watching that on YouTube for the most part, I rented it a few nights ago and man, I just saw it and I'm ready to tell everything I could possibly describe about this. Dick Tracy is in fact, as I've said, a detective who works for a huge police organization. And this does in fact take place near World War II. 1930s, 1940s pretty much. But the thing is, in this exact instance of Dick Tracy related media, what we have here is something so much more incredibly well made than what you would have expected from an average film adaptation. Which is certainly something that you'd see all the time nowadays, but film adaptations were not very easy to come by. A lot of times people wanted to focus on more original work, but most of the time, even way back in the day, adaptations would in fact be done. A good majority of which were based off of books. There were a handful made out of video games, and by 1990, it seemed that adaptations became a big focal point when it came to filmmaking. People were inspired by different events that had happened, so this is in fact a nice big backbone that does allow for a huge elaborative effort to be made. Dick Tracy, 1990, is no exception. Anyways, the plot basically revolves around Dick Tracy, a detective whom is in fact working to solve a case. He solves a case, and he does it well. He grabs all kinds of evidence and clues here and there. He basically goes into gunfights of all sorts with nothing but his creativity and wits imaginable. And then of course, there are in fact many appearances done by the cast themselves. Actors of all sorts. Warren Beatty, Madonna, Dustin Hoffman, Dick Van Dyke. You pretty much name it. It is a practically huge all-star cast. Probably nothing in comparison to what we've seen way back in the day, but nonetheless, I find this to be an incredible sight. And I really do appreciate how many fights have taken place here. It's very much like what you'd see from other action hero films, with lots of gunfights and lots of physical combat that takes place. I tell you, films like Indiana Jones, Die Hard, Star Wars, and even the likes of Rambo and Rocky, they've definitely had a lot of inspiration with all this material to work with. A lot of big time blockbusters, the 70s, 80s, they definitely have allowed for this to be a potential success. For 1990, it actually did happen to be a bit of a success amongst critics and also the box office. Critically though, it doesn't really seem like it's very appreciated very much. But if I really had to pick one moment of the film, it'd have to be the ending. Because doesn't it seem very familiar to you? I can't really be sure if at least one of you might have some sort of reminiscence of what the ending of the film is about. Well, the main antagonist just falls. Yeah. Doesn't that remind you of anything? How about Tim Burton's Batman? How about the very ending of what had happened with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Man, it's that typical top-facing shot pointing downwards to where the actor basically falls, shrinks, and just disappears. Basically marking a death by fall. So I guess with that, all pieced very well together, it just goes to show anything is possible. But there are, in fact, lots of different cliches that we do get to see even today that are constantly on repeat. But nevertheless, I sure am quite a big fan of what this went ahead and accomplished. It did so many great things. Car chases, gunfights, action, comedy, drama, a bit of horror, and many others. You can't quite get much further from that. But in any case, my overall ranking on this will in fact have to be a nice full-fledged 7.5 out of 10.1, which is in fact probably fair enough for some of you as well. Just looking at it today, it's probably nothing too special compared to what we have with most of today's films. The Detective Comics Extended Universe, which combines with the many other known cinematic universes that have in fact been established for the past 15 years. So we're truly looking forward to a huge future full of different features, all collaborated together into one big franchise. So I'm more than excited about what we could possibly get for next year and onwards. But here in November 2022, we still got a lot of things out there that we could be very much excited for. And I suppose that cuts it for today. So please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side if you'd like to see more.